Here we go, and it is time for another sprint zone. This one is for 5:20. It's a little bit late, but better late than never. And I would like to take this time to thank everyone for their telemetry and data. That would be Scott Pollia, Ron Kennedy, and Carrie Tassa. And I'd like to also thank Ron Kennedy for his GoPro footage, along with the footage from Scott Pollia, and they'll be presented later on in this podcast. Everyone's looking pretty strong there. See Steve there shaking up his bottle, getting a lot of nutrition and getting ready. And there's the first instantiation of the Ron cam, and I labeled it this time because there'll be two videos, and you might forget where you are. Seeing that lots of people here. We have the Rio team in full squad with celebrity Diana Hassel, and of course her husband Dean Davis, and the usual cast of suspects. Heading into the Melo zone, Tony looking strong there in the blue. Steve comes up, and as the rules of engagement state, you can't really hit it hard until everyone is around the corner. And there's a tiny bit of wind coming off of the left shoulder. It's not horrible, but it is a factor here. And you'll notice, or maybe you haven't noticed, that I do not have my telemetry up here except for my speed. My power meter wasn't working, and I was like, okay, speed is good enough. Could have thrown heart rate up there, decided not to, and it will give us a chance to look at what everybody else is doing. And I believe this might be the first time Carrie has provided his power, or maybe it's very rare. So I was up front, keeping a decent tempo, and I'm chatting with Tony about, hey, we should keep everybody honest. And I'm guessing, well, honest to Tony is a little bit harder than my honest, especially coming up this little grade. And I'm suffering here, and I'm like, I'm not going to actually go with that, but let somebody else run that down. And people are working hard, and you can see, looking at the power there, Scott, Ron, and Carrie, 30-second power, upper 200s, if not low 300s. So this was a little bit of an effort, even sitting in here as we crest the top. Everyone in tow. There's Carrie looking pretty strong there, and you can see his power, 32nd at 240, 230. Everyone is honest, and it's a good showing from the Pro Velo team. I like those new kits, and it's their turn to go run these people down. I'm kind of sagging back there. There goes Wolfgang, and I'm going to talk about his kit again. Lots of air disturbance behind his neck there. Not certain it's the fitment there, but there's watts being bled off, and I've mentioned that before. I've sagged back here, and I know I should be able to bring this back, but we are working pretty hard, and you can see the power that everyone else is generating. It's not a walk in the park. And there we go. Celebrity Diana Hassel looking strong there, bridging the gap here and pushing enough air to allow me to come through. Off to my left shoulder, we got Dean Davis, other Rio team member, and Diana's wonderful husband. And we got old school, well, not actually old school, but OG Danny with the Fort Collins cycling team kit. I like that kit. It's a nice kit, fits nicely. And here we are, into the corner, and I'm struggling here. I am barely hanging on, not even swinging. It's just trying to hold on here. And thankfully, there was this car that passed us, and it shouldn't have. It's like, why are you passing just to make this turn here? You could have waited like 5 seconds, and you would have been fine. In any case, that slowed the group up just enough to allow me to maintain contact, and I'm happy for that. Looking up there, like Ron's camera, he's looking strong in the upper left there. Life is good. He's holding a good position here as everybody is kind of bunching up, and you see the power has dropped. 30-second power for Ron into the 180s. Not weak, but still not bad. And there's Carrie. Looks like he's starting to amp it up. I can see his power up to 240, 250. And this might be when he takes a flyer. I'm too far back to really see that. Scott's camera will come online in a little bit. He didn't send me the whole sprint zone, so I'm not certain when that comes in and what he can see and if he actually captured that little flyer by Carrie. But you can see 370 watts, 380 watts. He is up the road there, and there has been no response by anybody. I'm holding my own here, and I'm in the wind a little bit, and Diana has that last bit of shelter from Danny. I'm like, if I could only be up a little bit closer, stick a wheel in there and get some more shelter, but I don't really want to overlap wheels. And, well, if I'm out here, I might as well just own it anyhow. I know this next inflection point is coming up, this little grade where everybody seems to know that they want to reserve a little bit. And you can see a little glimpse of Carrie up there, I believe, off the front here, just dangling as, I don't know who's in charge of the peloton here, but I believe he is about to be brought back on this little grade here. Wattage going up. Carrie's wattage 370 as the pack. Even Ron's 200. It's not an urgent chase. It's as if they do not give him enough respect. There's enough firepower back here, and we know his own teammate Scott is not going to bring him back. At least I would hope not. Well, it is the sprint zone, and as Ben Nelson said, what? Team tactics on the sprint zone? But, I mean, it's all good. If you want to practice or whatever, sometimes team tactics are good. Do it once or twice, or as much as you want. Looking pretty good there. And looking at Carrie's heart rate, 164, higher than both Scott and Ron's. Speed is good. I'm doing like 26 at this point, so it's no joke. Diana slotting up a little bit higher as Danny starts to swing back out of the shelter here. And it looks like Diana's going to catch the last bit of shelter from Dean. And I'm getting a little bit of shelter from Danny here, which is good. I need to push on here and make certain that I am not dropped, as I was hurting at this particular moment. Everybody working hard. That looks like Roby there. I think he might have been on his gravel bike today. Strong, impressive showing there, as once again things hot up a bit. And it looks like we still have people off the front way up there. And so far, it looks like neither Scott, and we have Scott's cam in the lower right there. I've labeled that. Not quite off the front yet. Everybody working hard here. Everybody starting to struggle. And then looking at my camera, there's Dean giving Diana a little bit of shelter. And I remember he shouts, "Go, Diana, go!" And she takes off. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we were so close. I was thinking that because of the wind, that Dean should have given Diana a little more shelter, launched her up a little closer so that she would have been able to perhaps, make contact a little bit easier. But as it is, just a little bit too far to make that bridge. So I'm sitting behind Dean. Dean's a great draft. This is pretty good, and I'm happy to be where I am at this point, given my fatigue level. Carrie looking strong, 317 with 30-second watts. Life is good there. Life is really good. You see Scott, and it looks like Steve and his camera working hard in the rear just to try to bring people back here. And it looks like, who was pedaling? It might be, I can't see. Was that Daniel? It looks like his cadence there. And then in my camera, it looks like we finally caught Diana. Dean is trying to make the catch here. Diana didn't have enough to stay on Dean's wheel. Tactically, that little move earlier, well, the timing would have been right. But, when the group is going and when they hit it and you try to hit it, it's difficult. So everybody's like a ramming and a thumping. And looking at Scott's camera below, it looks like the catch has been made. Carrie's brought back. Nice little flyer, Carrie. That was pretty impressive. And now it looks like Scott has daylight, bringing in his own teammate. Very nice. And we can see Ron is not too far behind. And I'm bringing up the rear. Just happy to be out there. Just trying to build my fitness with my newly found retirement. It'll be a chance for me to get some more miles in. Not a whole lot more miles, because really, I'm not going to turn into one of these 250, 300-mile-a-week people, because I don't really like it that much. But it is fun. Anyway, it looks like a good time was had by all. Nice flyer, Carrie. Good job. You were out there for quite a while. Nice job, Scott. Keeping people honest. Very nice. Very nice. Doesn't get any better than that. And until next time, party on. Peace out. I definitely enjoyed that one. Wish I could have been closer to the pointy end of the stick. Maybe, the aero bike would have helped a little bit in some of my strength. But there's some of the strong men there looking good. Looking good there. Yeah, we got Ron in Scott's camera, and Ron's got clear view there. Good shot of Diana making the turn. And this is where I actually got dropped on this ride. There were like trucks coming, and I'm like, I didn't really want to make the turn when Diana and Dean did. I probably should have. I thought there was only going to be one truck. Well, there was like a half a dozen trucks, and that's all she wrote for me. But, it was a good day. That being said, party on. And no real violations this time. I gotta say that's always welcome. Anyway, well done everyone. Peace out.